Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, and this is another edition of WCM's Connections. And with me is Christine Taylor, the a partner at, you know what, Christine, I can't even pronounce the name of your law firm. So you're going to have
Yeah,
to pronounce the name of your law firm.
sure. So I am an attorney at Goldberg Segalla.
Goldberg Segalla.
That's right.
And you're also the owner of, well, co-owner, because your mom is part owner too, of the Catskill Gilboa KOA.
Yes,
Did I say Gilboa correctly?
Catskill Mountains, Gilboa KOA. Yes, we've
I
got
got
quite
the
a long
Gilboa
name. It doesn't
correct.
really fit well on a t-shirt.
I was gonna say the name of your river, but I don't think I can say the name of the creek you're on. It's like
The
Skagari,
Schoharie Creek, yes.
Skagari Creek. Okay. All right. Which is it, and you guys in the park is located in, like, I guess I'm not very familiar with New York geography, but where,
Sure.
in the state of New York is that located? Is it like the middle
So
or?
it's kind of more towards the eastern side. We are the north end of the Catskill Mountains, so the capital Albany, it's about an hour southwest-ish of Albany. So we are firmly upstate. We're not really central New York. We're more the northern end of the Catskills.
Yeah, and you guys are closed during the winter, correct? You don't?
Yeah, we close about mid-October
Okay.
until Mother's Day weekend in May.
Is there the possibility to do like snow stuff, like snow camping?
But no, we don't have potable water in the winter. And Gilboa, because maybe of the rivers and the mountains over there, tends to get more snow than like Albany, for example. So it would
Okay.
be very difficult to traverse the hills in the wintertime.
Well, I mean, I always enjoy chatting with you. I know we run into each other a lot at different events, and it's always a blast getting to see you and whatever kid you bring, whether it's your son or your daughter, and your mom's usually tagging along too. And I guess I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about your history in the industry. You've been in the industry for a long time, and now your kids are kind of growing up in the industry too, I guess.
Yeah, I grew up in it. So my parents bought their first campground when I was 9 years old. That one was part of the Yogi franchise. And then over the course of my life, they've owned a couple different ones, a couple different KOAs. Most of the time in New York, they did have one in Florida. And now I have this KOA with my mother in New York. And my kids, although a lot younger than I was, because I have a 4 and 1 year old, it's kind of fun now to see them get to go to the campground during the summer like I did as a kid.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I guess what's some of your fondest memories of helping your parents at the campgrounds?
So my first job was being Yogi Bear, like ever. I was like 10 years old. I was a very tall boo-boo or a very short yogi, and I actually really found that to be fun. I didn't mind
Yeah.
doing that. I thought that was a fun job, and it was kind of crazy to be doing something at that age. I also was pretty lucky to have befriend certain kids who came and they would like come back every summer. So I've kept in touch with some of those kids I met when I was like 11 years old now as an adult, just from meeting them in the summertime. And I really enjoyed like the DJs growing up. I thought that was super cool. And just getting to be outside and riding my bike everywhere. Back then camping was a bit different. There wasn't
Yeah.
Wi-Fi or any of that. And I still am a sucker for a campfire. And just when you like smell a campfire, I like campfire smell for some reason.
Was there ever a point in your when you were younger where you were like, "Man, I'm never gonna own a campground"?
Yeah, a
Did you?
thousand percent. I was not the kid that was ever going to own a campground. Before I was an attorney, I was an opera singer, so I like definitely had zero desire. I was never going to own my own business. I was never going to work in a campground. I was never going to do any of that. Like, having grown up and seen both the positives and negatives, I was like, no way, customer service sucks. I don't want to do this. And then as I was going through all my degrees, I would come home in the summer and work at the campground, and I honestly really liked it, but I still didn't think I ever wanted to own one or do that long term. And then when my mother approached me and was like, "Hey, I want to buy a campground again. Do you want to do it with me?" I said, "Why not?" And it's a bit different now since I have a day job, if you will, but it is still rewarding to go see it all come together and still like the smell of campfires and the night sky and all of those things that I liked as a kid are still great. And I think I realized that the reward side of running and owning a campground is larger than the negative side. But I hadn't worked enough other jobs, I guess, in other industries to have that kind of insight when I was younger. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I meet a lot of unique owners throughout the industry. I don't know if I've ever met an attorney that also owns a campground. There I met an like a NASA person who works at NASA that used to own a campground. They went back to NASA. But do you know of other attorneys that own
I
campground?
do, but the ones who I know own campgrounds didn't do the type of law that would have been beneficial to their ownership. Like they did other
Okay.
kinds of legal stuff. So we've discussed that, like they know generally being an attorney and whatever, but not what that means in the campground space generally. But yeah, there are some others who, have left the profession for the great outdoors, if you will.
And I know just chatting with you previously, you wanted originally when you entered law school, you wanted to do like entertainment law, maybe like
Yeah.
represent like Brad Pitt or something. And and somehow you got sucked back into the campground
Yeah,
industry.
no, since I had been an opera singer, I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer because I wanted to do
Yeah.
essentially music law, marry the two things together. And so that's why I went out to California for law school. But while I was in law school, I kind of decided that maybe I didn't want to do that long term. It's a somewhat of volatile industry, and I wanted some more stability. And at the time I moved back to New York, my parents still owned a campground, and I realized that most hospitality attorneys didn't know anything about outdoor hospitality. They were very familiar with hotels, even some marinas, but nobody really knew what to do with campgrounds. And since I still was connected to a bunch of people having grown up in the industry, especially in New York, I made my way back into Coney, and their previous attorney was retiring, so I started doing stuff for Coney. And then that kind of turned into doing stuff for the Northeast because I met Cindy at NCA. And then that kind of turned into me doing stuff for you. And then Ojai, which was Arvik at the time. And that's now why you see me everywhere, is it just kind of started, in one state and expanded kind of across the nation.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of interesting. I think the demand's always been there for attorneys, but I guess, over the last like 5 to 8 years or so, it seems like, I mean, there's just a ton of stuff popping up. You must stay extremely busy. So I know you're partnering with state associations all the time too. So,
Yeah, it definitely does keep me busy. I think what's changed is that the industry's changed a lot itself. We used to fly
yeah.
under the radar a lot because it was kind of what I grew up, the traditional like one family owned one campground, small time. And then I think as we started getting more attention and bigger players came in from other industries, it caused people and agencies and all sorts of stuff to pay more attention to us for
Mhm.
better or worse. And when there's more attention, there's obviously more legal things that happen or need to be resolved. So I think that's what kind of created this boon, if you will, in the legal sphere for hospitality is just that the industry has changed. So people are paying attention more.
Yeah. And then, you're married, you have 2 kids, you're a lawyer, and you were like, "Boy, I have so much free time," that your mom got you into owning a park. I guess when your mom approached you about owning a park, was this park already on the radar, or did you guys have to go looking for a park?
Oh,
No.
so mom's a broker. This particular campground was actually one of her listings. And she decided that she liked it so much having traversed it with other potential buyers that she was just going to buy it herself. So she said, "Hey, this is the prettiest piece of land I've ever seen. Want to do this?" And I said, "Yes, but with the caveat that I could not contribute as much as I had previously because of all the other things you mentioned."
Yeah. Yeah.
I say that. So I used to do like a lot more marketing when we had the other campgrounds, but I frankly don't have time for that. But I will jump in if we have an employee issue and, cover rec for the weekend. So, one year I did rec for a big portion of the summer where I would come every weekend and with my son who was 2 turning 3 at the time. and, run activities every weekend. So, in a way
Yeah.
it was nice because I got to use the other side of my brain, like the fun, somewhat athletic, creative side, differently. So, it's a good balance. But yeah, I do breathe a sigh of relief that we're seasonal, so that way the expectations are only in the summertime and not year round.
When you first, I imagine there was a first time you visited the park. What were your initial thoughts?
Oh,
I guess, what were your
yeah.
initial thoughts of the park? Were you like, "Uh-oh, this is gonna be a lot of work?"
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, yes. This campground's built into a mountainside, especially at 5 miles an hour speed limit. It's very hard to get from point A to point B. Takes forever. I think it would take 15 to 20 minutes to get from both ends of our park if we were going 5 miles an hour. Our previous campgrounds have been very flat comparatively,
Yeah.
so just you don't even think about it, like navigating it just takes a different time, and thus where we want to store things is different because I don't want to go all the way back to the store to get things all the time because
Mhm.
it would take so long. It's also hard not to compare your previous campgrounds to your subsequent ones. When we sold our previous campground, it was set, right? Like we had over 10 years done what we wanted to do. Like we were just operating at that point and like upgrading, but there was no like maintenance to be done or like overhauling to be done. So it's hard to like reset that clock. So it's hard for me sometimes to like we had a super new fabulous pavilion at our previous campground, and we have
Uh-huh.
a very old pavilion at this one. And it's hard not to be like, dang, I really wish I had that. But like that's not a good spend of our money and I gotta let go of that. And maybe 5 years from now that's something we'll revisit. But I think the hardest part was starting over again because, when I was last in it, we had made a campground into what we wanted. So we're a different point of the cycle again, and I wasn't quite as prepared to start over as I thought I was.
Just talking to the financial people and then talking to other park owners, there's always something that pops up, like, right after you buy a park that's an expenditure that you weren't anticipating. I guess, did you guys have that? Was
Oh,
there stuff that popped up?
yeah, a bajillion things, but I would say the most significant ones would be so since we're on that river,
Yeah.
our entrance washed out the second season. So because again we're built in a mountainside, we had to blast in the mountainside to cut a new pathway down from the front entrance to the rest of the park. This is what I call the unfun money. Obviously people can tell we redid a new entrance, but us having a new entrance doesn't like drive people to our campground and want to
Yeah.
pay more money, but it's a have to. We've also had to like do repairs on wells and dig a new well. And again, people want good clean water and water pressure, but they don't come to your campground for
Yep.
that. So that's more unfun money instead of, like putting in a miniature golf course or a water park or something. Like you don't get to do that because you spent all your money on these other things.
Yeah, definitely. I guess, I mean, I don't know, blowing up part of a mountain would be pretty fun, I guess. Did you guys record that for marketing?
No, I don't think we did, but you're right. It does remind me of like the construction videos my son is obsessed with. But when it's your property and your money, not as fun.
You didn't let him press the button on
I did not,
the
but
explosives? No? Maybe
no,
next time.
but he does enjoy. We shoot off fireworks every summer, so he enjoys getting to watch that happen with the fireworks company and all of that kind of thing.
How do you put, like, your legal eyes to like, I have a feeling, like, if I was a lawyer, I would be looking at everything and be like, "Oh, man, I'm gonna get sued," or "This is gonna this is" how do you put that away and, like, not have, like, 2 huge books of rules at the park, I guess?
So I do have a lot of paperwork, but um, I it's a calculated risk or it's known risk. So
Yeah.
I even say it to like clients a lot of the time. If I could operate in isolation in a bubble, I would be 100% legal. I would do 100% perfectly, whatever. But that's just not realistic. Like there are some things that I know are technically illegal, but there's really no way for me to ever fully remedy that problem. And it's just a
Mhm.
risk that I'm willing to take because there really isn't an alternative. Like I can't make that 100% better. You also pay for insurance for a reason. I mean, that's really the long and short of it, is that hopefully with the paperwork and the most that you can do, plus your insurance, you're covered as much as you can be. That
Yeah.
you kind of hope for the best, and you can't. There's not a single thing in the world that would stop people from suing you no matter what business you're in. It's just how quickly you make the lawsuit go away. So you do your best. And you hope that you did enough to stave off most of them, but you decide what risks are worth it and aren't.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple natural disasters here recently. I guess do you guys, when you look at your emergency planning and stuff, do you guys like practice that and stuff too? Is that something that you do at the
So
park?
we definitely go through that with our staff. Since we are on a
Mhm.
river, we also have to have a flood plan, and that's part of our operational. Luckily, because we are near the power authority and the dam and things like that, they would have a warning system that went off if there was going to be a problem with the river and things like that. But you do need to go through that with your employees. It should include like somebody was injured and a ambulance is coming. How do you let them in the park? How do you help them find the person? You can't plan for every eventuality, but they should at least have a baseline of what to do if that comes up because you don't want to be scrambling to figure it out in the event of an emergency, having
Mhm.
something to refer to and hopefully that they've read before that instance is beneficial. So I generally recommend, and we do so, have a couple staff meetings a year, definitely one before we open, at least one mid-season. We usually do them in conjunction with a meal. Here's some free food. Also, listen to me talk at you and that kind of thing. But yeah, that I would definitely absolutely recommend that for everyone. It just helps to be on the same page.
Do you break up the meetings with opera singing?
No, but I
No.
have run karaoke at our campground several times.
There you go. There you go. So what draws people to the park? Like what is the thing that really is there stuff in the area that people go to, or are you mainly doing everything at the park?
We are mainly the destination itself. We're not far from some things, but far is relative
Mhm.
to people. We're like a half hour from kind of anything
Yeah.
you might want to do. So you're really coming for us. You're coming because we're on a river. You're coming because we're very green. You're coming because we have themed weekends you want to partake in. This year we're doing a hot air balloon weekend where they're going to do the hot air balloon rides from our property since we have a lot of green space. So you might be coming for that. You might be coming because you like the local band we're having, because some of them have followings. You're coming to spend time with your family in a place that's really pretty nature-wise. We see some of the best stars ever because we're so removed, and we have no streetlights ourselves, and we're not near a big city, so there's like hardly any artificial light. So the stars are so much better there than even where my house is an hour away. So we come for that
Yeah.
kind of experience.
Well, I mean, you've been in the industry since you were little. I guess, what's the biggest difference between that you recognize between maybe when you were younger in the industry and what it's like now, I guess? Do you notice anything operationally or anything that, in the
Sure.
industry, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, so first, it's the type of ownership. Owner-operators
Yeah.
were the majority before, and now there's most people who are managing a park are the ones who own it. That's just how it is. It's changed a lot in that regard. And then technology's changed things a lot. Back in the day, if we wanted a survey from a guest, we would mail them a piece of paper or they'd have to mail a
Mhm.
piece of paper. Now they can decide they love or hate you while they're using your Wi-Fi. So, you give someone a warning about being too noisy with your quiet hour, and they can one-star review you while they're sitting on your property.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks. Admittedly, when I first had to contend with that, I took it really personally every single time. I don't take it as personally now anymore. I know that's just kind of where we live in, and we get enough lovely reviews and feedback that I can take it now. But that kind of sucks. It sucks when you put your entire self into your business and people can so quickly or have their sons, cousins, nephews, if they decide they don't like you, just, one star you when they've never met you or been on your property. So that, technology has made some of that worse. Wi-Fi people really want, but it also changes what kids are doing on the property. So like I
Yeah.
talk a lot about my youth, But now a lot of the kids who come, they bring their game system with them in the camper, or things like that. Whereas that wasn't really something that was like if it rained, we were playing board games because that's what was available to
Yeah.
you now. So I think that expectations changed a little bit. Frankly, we have cable TV still on our property, but most campgrounds don't because most people are used to their streaming accounts. So like things have changed and I appreciate that there are still so many campers because they're trying to get back to the outdoors still. But it definitely technology for sure has changed a lot of things both operationally, positively, like I can take online reservations, great. Negatively, I could get reviewed at 6 seconds. But yeah, I'd say technology for sure has accelerated the change in operations.
Do you feel like people have shorter attention spans now? Like they
I
want
do.
things like now.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, like we carry around computers so we can get that little dopamine fix all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody has their cell phone when they sit around a campfire now, right? Like
Yeah.
people aren't leaving it somewhere. I get phone service at our campground, but I jokingly say that it would be nice if we didn't because then we really would be unplugged, but we don't. We don't unplug anymore. People take pictures all the time, but aren't necessarily living in the moment anymore. It's hard. So I think that by providing fishing and water activities and stuff like that, it forces people to separate themselves from that technology and, remember the people that are around us.
What I find interesting with kids is that kids especially, is that they want those experiences. Even adults to some degree want like those outdoor experiences. You just sometimes in today's world, it just seems like you have to like give them offer them those experiences or help them enjoy those experiences. They won't necessarily do it on their own.
Sure.
Is that something you see at the park, I guess?
Uh, so what I think is cool is that I see parents do more things with their kids, but I also
Yeah.
see kids kind of doing things on their own. I mean, if we described our childhood, I would talk about like going out in our neighborhood and like being by myself all the time. And, like my neighbors were around, but, goodbye, mom, I'll be back by dark, and that's not really
Yeah.
I wouldn't let my kid do that now in my neighborhood. It's not I don't know. I wouldn't. But at the campground, people still do that. Like it
Yeah.
feels safe enough that you'll let your kid bike, up the street without you for a bit, or go to the playground if they have their walkie-talkie, or, go fishing with their friends. Or so I think that it allows kids to have some more independence too that they didn't necessarily have because it's in a controlled environment. So I think that helps them experience these things too, is there's room to fail and room to kind of explore on your own.
Yeah, definitely. So, are you gonna get a second park? Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna jump back into Jellystone?
It's funny that you say that. Please don't say that near my mother because she would probably say yes immediately. I think my kids need to be a bit older before I'm on board for that, but as I've said with many things in my life, never say never. You never know.
And, are you guys, like, fully attached to the KOA brand, or could you ever see yourself doing, like, an independent park or I mean, KOA offers a lot of benefits, I guess, so,
Yeah, so we've always eventually been a franchise.
yeah,
Because it gives us 2 things. It signals to people who used to go there that it's different. So if they stopped coming to a campground because, I don't know, the facilities were bad, the clientele was bad, whatever, being part of a franchise signals to those people, hey, it's different, maybe try it again. It's also when you're new to an area, it's pretty good. I hate to say it, but it's something like the McDonald's of camping, right? Like, I don't
yeah,
care where you've come from, you have at least some kind of expectation when you see that brand. So that helps. And the group marketing kind of helps drive if you're new to the area or don't know how to market or something like that. If we were taking
mhm,
over a park that was 100% awesome as a private campground and didn't need a facilities upgrade or a client upgrade, there might not be as big a benefit to joining a franchise at that point. We've just never not taken over a project. So that's not been in the cards for us yet. But, who knows? Maybe eventually it will, but Not
Yeah, I don't know. It may be too easy for you guys if you took over a park that didn't need any work. So, I think you guys like blowing up stuff and digging out wells. So,
yeah, I mean, projects are great. I definitely have all the free time, so
well, thank you, Christine, for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure getting to talk with you, and you're always so insightful. So,
well, thanks. Thanks for having me, and I look
yeah.
forward to seeing you at more things.
At more things down the road. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Christine, and thanks everyone for listening/watching, however you're viewing this, and we will be back again next time.